So as you're going through his progress, did you all look at all the opportunities that were given to him? Did you intentionally? You talked about turning things down and not always chasing the biggest club. Was there moments that you could have gone to a big club? No.
Ever tried watching your athlete's game from anywhere in the world? With Replayer, you actually can. I had a friend watch his son's game live from his flight. My son watched a live game from the car while we were driving up the California coast. It doesn't matter where you are, grandparents across the country, cousins on the other side of the world, teammates who just moved away, set up the camera, hit go live, and everyone with a link is right there on the sideline. Live streaming is free. Unlimited games, unlimited teams, unlimited users. No complex tiers. Everyone gets access. And forget waiting hours for footage. I recorded a 60-minute game and it was ready in 5 minutes. Players were clipping highlights on the ride home. One camera, made in the USA, unlimited everything. If you never want to miss those moments, head to replayer.com. The link is in the show notes. Family-owned Soccer Innovation is your go-to source for top-quality equipment. Whether you're a player, a supportive family member, or a dedicated coach, they have everything you need to elevate your game. For players, their innovative equipment are designed to boost your skills and performance on the pitch. From their agility cones to their portable goals, they have you covered. And family members, they offer durable equipment that's built to last because we know your support is critical to your player. Coaches, trust me, they can provide the equipment you need to run effective training sessions and shape the next generation of soccer players. Visit Soccer Innovations at soccerinnovations.com to start elevating your game with them. And if you use the code PITCH, PITCH, you can receive up to 10% off your next order.
That's not the right place at this time. And
yeah,
and how did you guys come to that conclusion? Because at the end of the day, parents are, I quote him quite often, Juan Martinez here with DKSC. He calls them Gucci parents. They want the badge, they want the league. Post to social media, and it's not about the kids. And how did you all come to that conclusion about where to place him? Because you were fronting the bill for a certain point of time. You said at a certain point it was covered, but going through, even at being 100% covered, you still want to make sure they're developing and still growing, because it's a hard decision.
You're still committing lots of time and lots of effort and opportunity costs, right? So, and I'll let Carey weigh in on this one as well, but I will tell you, from my perspective, Christian always made the final decision. And one of the things that he latched onto early was the fact that he would be knocked, I believe, the fact that he could be knocked out of a team or not included in a team or moved down a level reminded him that he had to continue developing at all times. And so almost every opportunity from the bigger clubs and stuff, he would look at the players that they had recruited, the success that they did or did not have, and the coaches and how they behaved in games when he was playing against them. And he could basically tell you, I will not develop there. I will either not be on the field, I will not get the skills. They're great at recruiting the top players, but they're not great at developing them, right? That was one of the things that he was always good about saying. But to the point that you're making about the enticements that come along with it, like I had a conversation with one of the coaches of one of those teams, and they were like, when he comes here, he'll get like free boots and he'll have his kit and he'll have like warm up to like, and that stuff all adds up. That all makes a difference. I'm like, yeah, it's something, but it's not the only thing. And he was like, oh, I see. We're not going to have this conversation around compensation, right? This is like, no, this is about something bigger. So I think those two factors are pretty big. Carey, what did you see?
Well, I definitely deferred to your leadership and guidance in that. You knew the soccer scene far more than I did. So I don't know that I was really as involved in those decisions. For me, it was always more like just logistically, right? How are we going to make it happen? But I mean, you had a pulse and you knew the people and I didn't. So, I mean, that was really, for the most part, left up to you and Christian.
But I'll say, had Christian decided to go with that club, I wouldn't have said a word about it. Right? It's like that was totally on him. It was like your choice, your responsibility, your consequences all the way across the board. And he took those conversations seriously. Like more than once, he would say to me, like, I need to think on this. And he would go and overnight he would sleep on it. He's like, okay, I've slept on it, I prayed on it, and this is the way I think I need to go. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
we're in. And
I will say, I do remember a time when, I don't know, Christian was maybe junior high-ish, early junior high. And you were having a conversation with me about kind of what's next, like where do we go from here kind of thing. And do you remember Braden came up
Oh, yeah.
in Florida?
Yeah.
And I just remember thinking, what? There was like no way in my mind. And Ian, let me be fair. It wasn't as if there was an opportunity on the table.
Right.
It was more just conceptually, this could be an option maybe in the future. And I just remember thinking, there is no way we're sending our 12-year-old son or whatever to live in another state. But as of local clubs and coaches, I definitely deferred to you.
So at what age do you said he's always been part of the conversation. I think that's critical. I mean, both my kids, Thea's never tried out for another team. She's played with the same same coach since she was recruited from me at the age of 5 to go play with her friends.
Fun.
I wasn't mad. She just slowly took my team. But it, like, that friendship with the coach, it's like she's now transitioning from coach to parent because she likes to do them 12 and 8 and younger. She doesn't like coaching once they get past 8. It's no longer fun for her. I go, it's the chaos stage that you like. But what age did you actually let Christian be his journey, let it be his? Because I think that's really hard. I think when my son has tried out for every team since he's been about 7, we've always had the conversation. What did you think? How did you feel? And at mid-season one time, we tried out for a team. The team collapsed, and we were assigned a new coach. And I felt like that was the moment in his soccer journey where either he's going to continue playing or he's going to be done. And because he didn't love the coach, he didn't love the environment, but he had some great people in his life at that time, a couple of players that he met and coaches that he had that I felt like I give a lot of credit to for him staying with the game. I mean, but he no longer tuned in the coach. He just did what he knew was the right thing to do at 8 years old. I mean, as a parent, I'm proud of him, but as a parent, I was also mad at him because he was listening to a coach. But what age did you realize it was his journey, that you're there to be, as I like to call it, being the gardener, just pruning along the way? And what age was that for him? Because from the sounds of it, it sounded very young. It didn't sound like it was.
No, I was just trying to decide how to say this in a way that doesn't sound like I'm exaggerating things. He's been in charge from day one. And it's a really weird thing to say, but I can remember walking out of the YMCA registration office when he was 2.5 years old. They wouldn't let him register because his birthday was like a week after their deadline, and he was gutted that he couldn't play soccer, right? And so we said, okay, do you want to continue like in the spring when you're old enough for it? He's like, yeah, absolutely. And so that was his first time to have to make a decision after being emotionally rejected. And he kind of, like, when he got there, he enjoyed every minute of it. And then he realized that, hey, scoring 8-10 goals a game, that's not real, or not scoring 8-10 goals. He could score 8-10 goals a game, but they wouldn't let you in YMCA, right? And for me, that's teaching a really great skill out of a kid, right? It's like, okay, we can't do that. So we do need to move, but where do you want to move to? And then realizing that kids his age aren't quite what it is. So you have to look for a club that has the ability for him to play with kids that have the skill level that he's at, which is fine. And it was like, everybody wants you until they see you. And so this younger age kid was turned down from Club 1 and Club 2 because, oh, guess what? Your kid that's a year or two younger might make all these other kids look bad. So, okay, we're going to stick with policy on this one. And I know that kid over there is younger, but his brother plays on the team, so it's okay, right? So you've got all these little things, but like he would be the one that would say, okay, that's I would say, here's what's going to happen in this particular place. They're not going to let you play over here. They'll let you play, but you have to do this. And here's it. And then we would just go with this decision. And not because we could make any decision, but we gave him 2 or 3 options, and of those options he picked, right? And so he would pick, and then he discovered that he loved this particular coach. So we hung out with this particular coach for a while. And then we discovered that led into some other conversations with other opportunities. And so he could pick and choose from those. And he's been making these choices along the way. And we haven't been absent in those decisions, but we certainly have gone with what his lead was, because whatever he says is what he's most comfortable with. Otherwise, I would feel super guilty all the time, because if his experience sucked, that was my choice, not his choice, right? I'd much rather it be his choice. And that's part of growing up in my mind, right? It's like you make choices, sometimes they're not good, and you get to deal with the consequences. One example, I was thinking about your story go, is one example is that he played on a team that was a year older, that had been together for many, many years. He was the first player they had kind of let into their inner circle in a very long time. And at first, they just kind of figured, well, he'll be on the sidelines. He can help us out during training. And then he started showing that he could play with them. So they gave him a little bit of time to play on the field. And then they put him back on the bench. And then there was a bunch of infighting with the parents and the disrespect for the coach and stuff like that. And it just turned out really badly. However, during that decision, that 1 year where he made the decision to play on that team, he developed an awful lot of ability to be competitive with kids bigger and older and stronger. And in the last game of the year, they were playing the Texans soccer club, where he scored the winning goal against the Texans team. And when the head of the Texans club found out he was 2 years younger than all of his players on the field, we started having conversations. So that opportunity opened up, but it would not have happened had he not made that decision to join that team, to be on that field in front of that coach at that particular time. So it's all been guided by him and those decisions along the way, with mom and dad making sure that there was a safety net there if it was necessary.
So I understand what you're saying. It's like my wife I'll give my wife the credit because it's not me. She has made the right decisions by letting him guide his future and not let me really be. I'll go do the research. I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
I've used my connections to get him in front of coaches, but
absolutely,
it's truly her really enforcing, like, it's his journey, it's his pathway. We're at this fun age. He's going to be 12, and from the time he's been a little kid until about a year and a half ago, the ball has always been glued to his foot. I think COVID kind of ruined. Either they made kids more resilient and want to play on their own, or my kid who had a parent that worked from home every day and I could take breaks in between meetings and we could play soccer. It made him a very codependent athlete, as I like to say. My daughter's not the same.
Interesting.
Because my daughter is very much, I'll go out back and kick the ball. I'll go out back and juggle. Where he goes, can we go play? We call it left foot in the hallway.
Yeah.
And we'll play, we can only score with your weak foot. And we both do that. We'll play left foot, and so he learned to be always playing with someone. And I look at it. I had a conversation with a psychiatrist, and he says COVID will be the one that changes everything.
Interesting.
And he goes, we'll see in 30 years what this has done to these athletes. And I find it to be very interesting, because either they're going to be super independent kids that grew up in that time frame, or they're going to be much like my son, who is codependent on a parent to play with them or someone to play with them. And I think it's very fascinating, because he can, if the right coach gets in his ear, he'll go out back and do his 300 juggles and not even think twice about it. Get it done within 2 days. His coach challenged him to go do 100. By the end of the week, he was doing 300.
Nice.
But it was having the right coach, because the coach motivates him. I think this is why it's so important for parents to really pay attention to the coaches, because I think a lot of coaches have a greater influence over their athletes than the parents ever will. But then the coach's attention changes and progresses to a different angle, and now he is stuck choosing between going out back or wanting to go me standing goal. It doesn't even matter if I'm doing anything. It's just me standing there. And I think there's a big variance coming. Was there any moments like that for Christian, or was it always self-driven, self-motivation, and you didn't have to step in at all?
I think he was self-motivated. I mean,
Well, and remember he had siblings too.
he
So,
did. So he was never really alone. He's shared a room with a brother and bunk beds in the whole 9 yards. So
and to
that
be
might be an
fair, like
unfair question.
his immediate younger brother, Christian would always shoot and Oliver would play goalie from the time they were little. And so that was just an arrangement they had. So then when Oliver got into high school, joined the soccer team, he played goalie because he had been shot on his whole life. Yeah, so I don't know if that's a codependence at all, but he had means. And I will say, I do have this soundtrack that would run in our house all the time. That's the ball going da dun dun da dun 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 da da, just non-stop. And I do remember thinking like, stop, stop with the ball. But so
Yeah.
I don't know if there was a codependence, and it certainly wasn't necessarily on Jay or I, in part because he always had somebody around he that he would shoot on. I
Yeah.
mean, really, because remember, Jay, even that first house in Katy,
Hmm.
remember they would shoot and it ended up breaking the glass door.
Yeah.
Remember this?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Like
Definitely.
Christian was like across the street and over a house, and he was shooting, and his brother was goalie or something. So somehow this ball came across the street, across the yard, up the sidewalk, slammed into our glass door. Cool. I don't even know. I mean, it was a beautiful shot. I don't
Yeah.
even know how it happened.
I didn't know who to be mad at, the guy who shot the ball or
Yeah,
the
I
goalkeeper
mean,
who missed the save. It was like,
yeah, we were
you're
not
both in
mad.
trouble.
It just was like, for real? Did that just happen? For real?
We
How
have
did that just happen?
2 picture frames left in our hallway,
See?
and they're
Yeah.
the ones that sit behind the door of the front of the house, so it's really close to the door, so
Yeah.
they shouldn't be getting hit. But yeah, all the rest either have been knocked down or we've taken them down because we
Yeah.
realize
It's
they
fine.
both will play in the hallway.
Yeah, those are the things that you're
Yeah.
like, families just, you kind of adapt, but you don't think about it, right?
Yeah.
You're like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, we
okay.
had to institute some rules. Like even Lindley knew balls can't be above the waist in the house, right? The minute it goes above the waist, the ball goes down, game's over. And I didn't even have to say anything. At some point, the ball would go over the waist. They're like, "Oh, I'm done," and they would leave the room, scatter like little roaches. And I was like,
Yeah. Well, and we used to do math facts and spelling. We had this really long entryway, and remember, we did this hybrid homeschool kind of model, and so I knew Christian was like whatever that type of learner where you have to kind of be moving a little bit. So anyway, he and I would just shoot the ball back and forth, just lightly kicking it, right? But we'd kick it back and forth while he was doing math facts or spelling as a way to keep his brain engaged. But
So as he progressed through his time, so he truly had full range from a young age. What age was he when you guys truly trusted to let go and truly trust him in his decision making? Because from the sounds of it, we haven't touched a lot of his playing career yet. We talked mostly about parenting here.
yeah, true.
Going through his career, when did you truly let go? I mean, I'm going to pull the Colodis example because when Michael was going off to go play with FC Dallas's youth team at the age of, I think it was like 13 or 12, they first walked him into the door, and eventually they just dropped him off at the airport, made sure he went through the door, and that was the end of it. And at the young age,
Where was he from?
He's from Dallas. Michael is. He plays the keeper for FC Dallas.
Yeah. But when he was young,
it was all here in FC Dallas.
Okay.
Sorry about that. And so they would drop him off at DFW, and eventually it was just letting him go on his own. And at the age of, I think they said 14 or 15, maybe it was 14 or 16, I can't remember, he was flying to Japan on his own with the team. And learning to let go was something they had to do as parents. And I'm sitting here, I'm like, I can let him go and be with a group of people as long as I'm dropping him off with them. But I can't imagine just kicking him out I call it kicking out the door and letting him go on his way. But being a little extreme. But I can't imagine. We've talked about him if he ever had the opportunity to go to Spain to go play for Villarreal for a week, because our family connection there. If he ever had the chance, would she go with him? And she goes, I would have to go with him. I couldn't imagine just sending him to Spain by himself.
Yeah.
I'm like, but it's a great learning opportunity.
So
he's going with other people.
I have a couple of examples. One, Jay did travel a lot with him when he was younger with the team. He was like a extra coach or parent that would go. But I have a
It was
memory
one of
that
the ways that I paid off our indentured servitude. Just so you know, it's I didn't have to go on those trips, but because I would go be a chaperone or because I would help set up before games and stuff like that, it's like that was how we were helping earn our keep at the club. So
yeah, I have a Facebook memory that pops up often, and I think Christian was 14 or 15. And in this Facebook memory, he's flying. I think it was, I don't know if it was like a Texans or a youth national team. I'm not sure what it was. But basically, he was traveling on his own. And so I have this moment of dropping the son off at the airport. You're like, okay, good luck, son. But to be fair, it didn't feel like that big of a deal because he had traveled so much. So I didn't really worry about him, right? He knew how to navigate an airport and that kind of thing. So I didn't really worry about him too much. But I do remember that. I have that memory that pops up. Letting him move to Dallas. Now, his senior year of high school, he moved to Dallas to play with the FC Dallas Academy. But we didn't have much notice. This opportunity came up really quickly. And so as we're gearing up for senior year, and then I'm like, oh, he's moving. And that moment, your first child, and he's leaving the house, and it's happening a year earlier than I thought, right? That just happens naturally. And that was a really hard moment for me. I didn't ever want him to know how hard it was for me because I didn't want to dampen his excitement for the opportunity that lay ahead. Um, but yeah, leaving him in Dallas was hard. And remember he shared at the apartment. There were a couple of younger boys, I think, that were from Mexico, and their parents. I mean, Dallas is 4 hours away. That's not that big of a deal, but
for us,
I
yeah.
think about those parents that are sending their kids to another country at 14 and 15 kind of thing. But anyway, nonetheless, it was difficult to let him go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So that was his first experience being on his own. Then where did he play? You talked about us being seen by SMU. Did he?
Mhm.
You said he played on the youth national team. I
Yeah.
caught that.
Yeah, you
So what
Mhm.
was his playing trajectory to get to pro then? So people
Oh
understand.
gosh. It was good, right? So it was like he had the opportunity to show well at the academies and the showcases and things like that. And then FC Dallas happened to be in our conference, so they got to see him twice a year, every year for watching his growth. And at that last year before his senior year, they were like, "We really want you to come up here." All right. And they just won the national championship for all academies, right? So he was captain of the national champions and he was on his way up there. He was going to play with the academy. But remember how he said that he started in virtual school in order to not be on academic probation and stuff like that?
Right.
Well, it turns out it gave him a tremendous amount of flexibility that even most of the academy players don't have because they're attending that local high school there and they have to go to classes. He's still virtual. So after academy training, he was actually going and training with the first team as well and making inroads in front of the coaches there as well. And so by the time they got to the end of that season, he'd been in multiple youth national team games. He played against the Brazils and the Japans and traveled all over the world. We laughed. I picked up the phone one morning and he's like, "Hey, Dad." It's like, "Hey, what's going on? What's up?" It's early in the morning. And he said, "I'm just want to let you know I'm going to Spain today." I was like, "Excuse me?" And he said, "Yeah." It's like, "Yeah, your national team had a player get injured. So our youth national team had a player get injured. They wanted me to come in. So I'm flying out this afternoon." I'm like, "Oh, just so you know, your senior year in high school and mine were very different, right?" So
Yeah.
and so he's been doing all of these things and helping to figure out what's going on. We've also been over time. Eric Quill, who was his coach in Houston, has been connecting him with what's the San Antonio team,
Mhm.
the San Antonio professional team. I'm trying to remember what their names are. That's really embarrassing. But anyway, he'd been going down there, and we were like, okay, youth national team, getting to train with professional clubs in the off season, getting ready to go to FC Dallas. You need to grow up right now, son, right? And so you're going to drive yourself there. you're going to stay with people who are going to let you stay there, but you are not their guests. You are going to go get groceries. You're going to do your own laundry. You are going to drive yourself to work like a professional every day, so that when you are asked to do that for real, you're all set to go. Right. So we've been
I
giving
forgot
him,
about that.
yeah, we've
He
been
was
getting
probably
money.
like 16,
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah. 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 And
He
to
did
be
it
fair,
two
it's like, yeah, we're
summers,
letting them
didn't
do these
he?
things, but like Find My Phone is like a really great app when you're a nervous parent, right? So we could
Right.
see where he was traveling and stuff. But then when he got to FC Dallas and he started doing all these other things, so his trajectory was great, and Dallas wanted to get him. And like I can't do justice to the stories that have been written on this online, so you can go and kind of fill in the details there. But suffice it to say that there was a bit of a battle over his playing rights in MLS between Houston and Dallas. And at the end of the day, the league owns the player's rights. And so they got into the middle of it and said, we will decide which club he will go to if he goes to MLS. And then they called him up a little bit later and said, if you're going to go, you're going to go to Houston. And he said, I think I'll take my chances. So he literally picked himself up, found an agent, and went to Europe to try and apply his trade there, because he knew that the opportunity wasn't the one he needed for the situation that Houston was in at that particular time, right? It wasn't going to be to his benefit to do it. They were protecting their rights to him through the rules that they had, but it wasn't in his best interest to do that. So he took it upon himself, and off to Denmark he went, eventually landing a gig with the lowest rated team in the Superliga. And from there, it was just kind of growth all over the place.
Yeah, so Ian too, like if you back that up, so he had, I guess his freshman year started being scouted by colleges, right? And so it's somewhere along the line he had committed to go to SMU. And that Thanksgiving of his senior year, this was another kind of like parenting moment, because the decision had been made that he was going to sign with an agent, which meant he had to give up everything that had been offered to him, right, by SMU. And as a parent, so that's a pivotal moment of,
That's a parenting moment there.
are we really about to do this, right? And so then you fast forward to the end, like almost a year later, he's now graduated high school. He had been on trial in like Germany and Norway, I think, that summer, and he
Oh,
came
yeah.
home and
He actually ended up with a trial, just so you know, is he actually trialed with FC Bayern. And while he was there, they were told, like, yeah, we'd love to have him on our reserve squad, but we have all of our players under contract. So the only way we can do it is if we can get a guy off contract, hold on while we try and do that. And they couldn't do it in the window they had. So he had to move on.
mm-hmm. So he came back home to Houston, and it's the end of the summer. All his peers are now leaving to go to school, right? They've all graduated. Everyone's moving off to go to school. And we didn't really have any he, to my knowledge, didn't really have any prospects at the moment. And that was another moment of time where I was like, oh, right, are we okay? Are we done? Have we all made the right decisions? And it was I doubted, and I had a specific conversation with him. Something, I was worried, right? It was probably like, well, what are we going to do? He was like too old to still play club at this point. He couldn't go off to college. He didn't have any pro contracts at the moment. And it was like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? And he very calmly just kind of looks at me and he's, it's okay. Don't worry. We got this. It's good. He never doubted. And he very calmly spoke to me about, I don't know, but it's okay. It's good. And I was like, okay. And then sure enough, it wasn't too much longer that he got a call, and he was very quickly off to Denmark at the time. But those are like very pivotal moments from my perspective of, okay, we signed with SMU and now we're foregoing a very expensive education for your long-term life goals here, for your immediate goals, right? And so I've been so pleased to just watch and see it's all worked out for him, right? And so anyway, and who knows what the future holds, but those were pivotal moments.
No, it was a good teaching moment for us, right? Because I grew up in a town where the education was so valued, I didn't even know college was optional, right? So I just assumed you got done with high school, you had to go to college. There's another 4 years out there waiting for you. You'll enjoy it, like it or not. And so when he got the offer for a scholarship, I thought, okay, we've hit the mother lode. It's a really good school. He's going to get a fantastic education. He'll still get to play soccer. Everything's happy, joy, happy, go lucky, joy, joy. And then he started getting all these opportunities with the youth national team and was showing well. And he came home one day and he said, Dad, I'm like one of 3 players on the youth national team that doesn't have a professional contract. And I don't think I'll be able to compete for positions with them like I am now if I don't continue to develop at a full-time basis. And we literally had to sit down and kind of reevaluate. It's like, do you continue to push? You do college first and then you go to the pros, or do you change it around? And so we eventually settled on, you have a finite shelf life as an athlete. You have proven you have the ability to get there, right? Now, I'd be having a different conversation if he was struggling to get any time anywhere. So we could have that realistic conversation. But because he was showing that he could grow and you do those things, it's like, you can go back to college anytime, right? As a matter of fact, I highly suggest you take some of your professional salary and you put it aside so you can go to any school you want when you're ready to go. But in the meantime, go do the best you can with what you got. So, but that's completely backwards from the way I was raised and my way of thinking up until he came in the door. And now I have a much different perspective on how and when education adds value and what you can and should do for the different strengths of your different children. So it was a good moment of teaching for me and for the family, I think, to see the options.
And I don't know that that's advice I would give to every family,
No.
as a blanket statement, but he was in such a moment of momentum, right? He had been nominated, he had won MLS Player of the Year, they had won the national title. There were all of these things that were happening, and yeah. But I will say, back to, remember when he got deported from Denmark?
Yes, let's talk about that really quickly.
There's so much that you can learn in life, and we kind of joked with him in that moment of like, you're really learning international politics and policies, and like, you may not be in this moment, you're not sitting in a college classroom, but you're getting a lot of good life learning, right? I mean, how many people can say they've been deported from whatever? But anyway.
That's just, I mean, but from the sounds of it, you all let him, from the age of about 16, from the sounds of it, kind of be on his own. I can't imagine. I mean, it's a different age and technology. I'm thinking back to early 2000s, late 90s.
Yeah.
That's when I graduated in 2002, and I can't imagine kids doing what they do today. I mean, at least you can pick up a phone and call them and talk to them, video chat, and we didn't have that.
That's true.
And I think it does create a different world, but at the same time, from the sounds of it, he grew up with the game as it progressed. Is there, I look at it from 2 sides, and that's what I read a lot about right now, is player identity. Does he have his identity outside of the game? Do you know if he does? Because as a parent, I feel like we focus so much on trying to get our kids into the right school, trying to get them on the right team, and we lose focus of our players' identity of who they are. And from the sounds of it, he knew he was a soccer player, but at the end of the day, did he have more than just soccer of his love? It was just soccer was the overall 90% view, and the 10% view that whoever else he was, or 75%, I don't know how you want to put it in percentage. But did he have an identity outside of the game? Because I think parents need to teach their kids of who they are and their value on top of the game.
Yeah. So if I think like now, I would say yes. I think he has. There was, now he's married. They've been married. They just had their 5-year anniversary. And he very much, so he's 26. He very much knows that this is a career, right? And that there are other things more important. In fact, when he came to us and said he wanted to propose to Maris, part of that conversation was like, Christian, if you are going to be married, you have to put her first above opportunities and soccer and all the things. And And in that moment, he's like, I know. And I really feel like they work really well together at this point on evaluating opportunities. So like now, like I'm not involved in those decisions at all. Jay, I'm sure you do still counsel him, but
Mm-hmm.
a lot of it is him and Maris are now
Mm-hmm.
making the decisions together.
Mm-hmm.
So, but if I think about like him as a younger child, it's hard to say. He definitely was Christian Cappis, right? He was Cappy, right? For so long. It was Cappy. But hopefully the home life, I think, I would hope, gave him that foundation. There is life outside of soccer.
Yeah.
So
I think from my perspective, he was 90% a soccer player, 10% Christian, right? It's like that is the way his mind worked. I didn't even think he knew what a girl was until he met Maris, right? And
yeah,
so
until Maris came along, yeah.
and so it was like she definitely changed his perspective on some things and kind of opened him up to a different path in life. She's been really good for him and how he handles stressful situations and things like that. So it's been a good addition to his life. What I do know about him, while I know that we want our children to embrace who they are outside of these sorts of opportunities that are kind of these short-term dimensional things like being an athlete, I also know that I don't want to tell them what they should be, right? Because my first gut feel would be like, dude, you're in the game. Everybody knows who you are. You could probably coach. You could probably scout. You could probably
Mhm.
be in administration. You could be in the business side of this. Like, you could probably do a whole lot of things and people would listen to you. He's very clear that those are options, but that's not his passion, right? It's like his passion in life
Mhm.
is not soccer for soccer's sake. And he is working his way through what that looks like. And so he knows he loves to cook, right? And I'm not saying he's gonna make a career of it, but like, why does he know that? Well, because he's over time made friends with a Michelin chef and they cook together in the kitchen regularly. So he's learning all sorts of things. Will that turn into a culinary thing or will it turn into a business thing or will it, we don't know, but like
Or just be a hobby.
he's
Yeah.
on that journey as a part of figuring out what his next step in life is. So he continues to learn and make his decisions.
Have you ever heard
Along
the?
those,
Oh,
go
go ahead.
ahead.
Sorry.
I was going to say along those lines, as much as a parent who's now kind of on the end of the journey, right? Like we're not in it driving him to soccer and doing all the things anymore. As much as you're so proud of them for their accomplishments and all that, there's so much that comes with being an athlete. There's the discipline and just so many great life lessons, but also it's also now really great to see him in the role as a husband and as someone who loves cooking
Mhm.
and boating and flying. It's just this equal it's just shifted a little bit from soccer to something else. You just kind of evolve and grow with them as they do.
I think that's awesome. Just because I look at it as a parent with young kids, it's that you're still in their world, but now you're at the, like you said,
Hmm.
you're at the edge, the stage of, I call it,
Yeah.
you're probably beyond that stage now, but it's becoming from parent to friend, as
Yeah.
the best way I
Yeah.
can describe it. You're still there for all the love and support, but you're more of a friendship than a parent. And
Yeah.
I think that's something that parents, I know my parents struggled with it. I mean, at the age
Mhm.
of 18, I was the black sheep. I mean, my family, that's a joke, but in my family, but it is, I get what you're saying. It took me several years to learn that progression as a child to go to my parents. And my parents, I have two older siblings, so they've already been through it with two older kids. So,
Mhm.
but it's really nice to hear that you are now realizing your roles with him and everything else. And how, as a family, like how is it for you all to see the progression? I mean, I know you guys are probably excited for him to be 4 hours away now and not a couple
Very
of flights
excited.
away. But as do you find it to be, as a family, able to support differently now that as an adult versus a child? I mean, I shouldn't say a child, but as a young adult might be the better way of putting it. To my eyes, he's still a child because he's still
Mhm.
young.
Yes.
um, but it is. but the support system that you have for him, has it ever fluctuated, or has it ever changed for you all? Or is it now stepping back and realizing, like, you talked about his support with his wife and everything else and the friendships he's made. Do you view that your time as a parent, I don't know how to phrase this correctly, the role has changed so much more to be,
Yeah.
I think when your kids are younger, I'm in this phase, I call it and being consumed by them. And it's because you're running them everywhere and doing all their activities with them, helping with their homework and doing all that stuff, to now of enjoying the fruits of the labor, that might be the better way of putting it, with him. Do you see it now with your younger kids also, because he is the oldest and they all have their own trajectory in life? Do you see that it's all coming together now for you all? I don't know how to phrase it. I can't get it.
Yeah,
I'm gonna say I'm not real sure what the question is.
No, you're good. I don't know how to phrase the question I wanted to ask, but
so I think one of the things that you're talking about, though, is when you look back on all the things that you had to do in order to get them to the point where they could launch out on their own. If you look at it and you see what's going on, people always say you must be proud. It's like, I'm not so much proud as I am pleased. I'm pleased for him. I'm pleased for the fact that he had a vision of what he wanted to do and he pursued it and he could, right? He had the right tools. He had the right abilities. He's not run smooth waters and he's had to battle through those, but those are the things that make us who we are. And where I see it actually being kind of a compounding effect is that we have to do the same thing with our 3 other children. And as a part of doing that, Christian is feeding back into them as well. And now our second one, Oliver, is also feeding back into them. So all those life lessons, all those insights, all those passions, all those things that they picked up along the way, they are bringing them back around and teaching the younger ones as well as us. So like we're getting some reinforcements in this whole process, which is kind of cool.
I like hearing that. So for all the parents that are listening to this, what do you hope they understand? You made a comment that no journey is the same, that you made a blanket statement about his progress and his journey, but what do you hope they can understand that with players and athletes, what we should be doing as parents, and they can truly understand from your experience and Christian's journey?
So I'll say, from my perspective, for anybody who might be thinking about their child in any sport, much less soccer, but in any sport or any activity that's high level, a gymnast or whatever it is, you're on a journey with that child. It is not your journey, right? That is theirs to live. It is theirs to succeed and to fight through the points where there's friction and to grow and to get stronger. And your role is to be there to support and love on them so that they know there's a safe haven in whatever storm there is, and to cheer and support them when they have success, and to be realistic with what you're looking at, right? Because if you look at your child and you see a superstar developing and you have the evidence to back it up, man, do not hold back on that, where you do whatever you need to in order to help them. Because so many people are so fond of saying, it's like, "Ooh, it's a 0.1% chance that your child might be an athlete and get a professional job," right? Okay, guess what? 0.1. But to us, it's 100% because that was our first, right? So it's like we had to get through all the little fluff that says, I was like, just keep everything the norm with everything else. If your child can do it, great. If your child hits a ceiling and you find yourself pushing them along in such a way that it's uncomfortable for both you and the child or the athlete, you need to be thinking about what you're doing and why you're doing it. So if they are driving the journey and they are succeeding and they're seeing progress and they are determined, great, do what you need to do as a parent. But if not, help them figure out what those next steps are, whether that is a side step, whether that is a back step, whether that's a step out of what they're doing altogether, right? Maybe it's no longer playing soccer and it's gymnastics. That's great if that's the choice they make, and you support them 100%. And I think that the other thing that I would say, just for those who are the privileged owners of a future professional athlete, is that professional athletics is a business. Okay. If you believe that all the values that you are instilling in your child, like development and thinking and being thoughtful of others and playing fair and doing all those other things, are going to be parroted when they become a professional, you're wrong, right? Everybody there is to win. And that doesn't mean just on the field. That means in the back office, like the recruiting office. That means in the sales office. That means in the ownership situation, right? And they will do what's best for the club. And if that means it's not good for you, that is not their problem, right? So in the same way that you're looking for youth clubs that are going to be supportive, when you hit the professional ranks, it's even more important. What's the agent got in it? What are they saying versus what they can deliver? What are the coaches saying versus what they're showing you, right? Because coaches, man, they're really good at telling you what you need to do in order to get you to leave the room, but they are not great at delivering on the sorts of things that you need to know in order to get better and to get onto the field. And in some cases, you're even handicapped because if you find out that the general manager spent $10 million on one player and $2 million on you, guess which one he wants on the field? Because his job is on the line, right? So in the same way that you are looking at youth clubs, you're also looking at the professional level, you're looking at the collegiate level with the same sorts of eyes. So you're there to help advocate for your child based on what you know about them. You know them better than anybody else. And at the end of the day, you counsel them on what you know and then let them make the decision and work their way through those things, but going eyes wide open.
Yeah, and I would say too, we never really set out with the goal of getting a college scholarship or or even the goal of him being pro. Like it was really more about just he had this God-given ability that was we didn't see anywhere else, right? Like we didn't see it in all the neighborhood kids, and we just kind of kept going. Like we just like one opportunity to the next, but it wasn't as if we ever were like, this is the end goal for him to play or get a scholarship and even we didn't know if he would make it to pro. Like we had multiple conversations along the way of, is he really as good as we think he is? Like, like, is this really happening?
Yeah.
So I don't know, that's probably counterintuitive because a lot of like professional development will say like you need an end goal so you know what you're working towards.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't really feel like it was that way growing up with him. Like it was more of just, well, what's next? And what's next? And he just had this drive and this discipline and this like it was a natural progression, I guess. The idea of looking at a 10-year-old and making decisions based on the idea of a potential scholarship, I don't know. That's a hard decision to make. And now it's a totally different world with what's the thing that now that the collegiate scholarships can have sponsorships,
Image and
right?
likeness, yeah.
Yeah. Christian and I talked about that recently because he just missed it, right? Like he's
Um,
not that much far removed. I was like, wow, what a difference life could have been had you been able to capitalize on that. But he didn't. It wasn't his time.
No. I don't think they're going to get as much as the football players are. So
No,
probably still did okay.
I'm
But,
not gonna ask my.
in all fairness, is like money was never the thing that was in it for him anyway. He wanted to see how well he could play because like the number that he was given to play in the MLS instead of going to Europe was 2 to 3 times what he got when he went to Denmark. So it was never about that. It was about like at what level can I play? And I was like, hey, the kid's got Champions League experience from the knockout round, or not the knockout rounds, from the qualifier rounds, and he's played in the UEFA Cup, the UEFA League Cup, whatever they used to call that thing. So, anyways, so he's got some experiences nobody else has ever gotten. I don't want to say nobody else has ever gotten. I was like, got some experiences that other people would love to have. That's a better way to put that. By doing that, but like financially, was it like a windfall? Probably not. But from a satisfied, have I played where I needed to play in order to get some exposure? Yeah, he's got 2 trips into the national team camp to show for it. So not a bad way to go.
He picked his own journey, his own path from the sounds, but he didn't mark to the same drum that I feel a lot of these players have the access to. I mean, so I'm going to ask my favorite question, and it is, who has been the greatest influence as you as parent? Because that's the angle we've been talking on mostly as parents. Well, who has been the greatest influence on you? It could be anyone or multiple people. It's truly who you want to give shout outs to help you navigate this crazy world of soccer in the United States.
Oh man. You go first, Carey. I'm thinking.
Oh,
You can take your time.
thanks,
It's fine.
Jay.
I can edit out that space.
I don't know, but I will tell you that I prayed a lot for Christian and opportunities, right? And so my mom passed 20 years ago, so she wasn't my go-to person, right? Because she was not theirs, but I do have a great circle of friends outside of Jay and the family dynamic. I had people that I could talk to and bounce ideas off of, and honestly, those women were at his, well, actually they weren't at his wedding because it was during COVID, but anyway, they're still around in his life. And
It's pretty cool.
so it was more like maybe the village idea, not trying to figure this out necessarily on my own, but like with them and through prayer and just like, where are we and what are we doing and what's next?
Very
It's
cool.
not a great answer for you, but
That's
that's
a great
probably how I
answer.
would answer
That is
it.
a great answer. I like it.
Yeah.
And I'll take it from the soccer side. I'll give a shout out to a lady named Molly Chernacek. She and I grew up in the same hometown in New Mexico. Small town, but very international town. And like I can remember soccer being a bigger sport than football was. Like we used to have 100 kids go out for the soccer teams, and then we would cut it down to the 30 that we needed, 35, 40 that we needed, and then everybody else would go to other sports, right? So it was like a really weird setup. When I moved to Texas, I was in culture shock, quite honestly. But she and I ran summer camps for kids for soccer, and that was where we really developed our philosophies on how to coach kids and how to develop them and how to get those skills in place and how to look out for them as not just individuals. Like we were always looking for the smiles while they were playing versus the competitiveness. Now, were we competitive? Yes, because Molly and I were uber competitive on everything. She was a UC Berkeley scholarship player at the time, and so it was like I was just a menial Division III boy player, and so like it was always fun to play competitive with her. But like at the same time, it's like how do we make it fun for them? So I think she was a really big, and her father was a really big influence in how I look at things. But I will also give a shout out to my father, who is probably one of the most interesting gentlemen that I've ever met in terms of how he looks at the world and how he thinks of the experiences that you should have in the world, and just demonstrating that through how he raised us as kids.